So we were talking earlier, Matt, and you were telling me that you were a big fan of what the Unity company's doing right now, and that you're a big supporter of their CEO. Is that correct?
Yeah. I like what they're doing because I just enjoy when companies try to destroy themselves. It's fascinating.
Hey guys, welcome to the Level With Me podcast. I'm LevelCap. This is Matimi0. Today, as you might guess, we are going to be talking about Unity quite a bit and some other things going on in the gaming scene. If you'd like to support our podcast, you can go to our Patreon, which is linked in the description of the podcast, wherever you are watching or listening to it. Any and all support is very much appreciated. And this has been quite a week for gaming. I mean, it feels like it's always a week for gaming, but it's just something about 2023, man. There's some weeks.
Yeah, this one was quite wild.
So tell me, what do you like so much about what Unity's doing over there with their business model?
Well, I like the fact that over the years, they were fostering a gaming platform for their engine so that people could make fantastic games. And then they decided that they wanted more money, and they came out with a policy where for downloading a game, the developers and or publishers, I don't know how it would really work, would be charged for said download. It was like 20 cents, and they just wanted to see their own company burn. And boy, it's burning. There's a lot of smoke.
This has got to go down as one of the worst managerial calls in this is like on par with let's launch SimCity type thing, from EA.
Before it was ready.
Yeah. It's such a bad take. And I dove into it today, really got into the details, and there's employees that have quit because of this. And they've come forward saying now that these issues were kind of run past them, or at least made aware to a lot of employees. And they were all like, no, this is going to explode in your face. And then the higher ups were like, okay, we'll talk more about this. And then they just made the announcement, and that came out of the blue for half of the company. And yeah, I'd be upset if I was an employee too, because Unity's been around for a long time. I think the early 2004 or something like that. I've even used it to make a game, Matt. Yeah. I made a game with Unity forever ago.
I had no idea you were a game dev.
Yeah, so it's just.
So if you're up to date on it, could you give a quick overview of everything that's happened, because there's a lot, and I don't think I'm as well versed as you are.
Yeah. So for anyone completely unaware of what's happening, Unity is a very popular game engine. And it's been around for a long time. Lots of indie developers and even AAA developers use Unity. Escape from Tarkov was made with Unity. Pokemon Go was made with Unity. There's
tons of mobile games.
Yeah, lots of games that you're probably playing or have played in the last several months are on Unity. And it's an impressive engine. They've done a lot with it. The company's huge. Over 5,000 employees right now.
Wow. I didn't know it was that big. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's mega, right? They make a lot of money off of it. And so Unity makes their money by charging developers. I believe right now they have different subscription tiers to use their engine, where you get different levels of support. And then beyond that, after you make a certain amount of money, I believe you also give some kickback to the Unity company as well, which is similar to how Unreal does things as well.
Right.
If you make over $1 million using the Unreal Engine, you do a little bit of a kickback. So on the 12th, I believe, last week, they made an announcement that they were going to start charging their developers up to 15 cents per install of the game copy, which seems so insane to me. I'm out of all ways to monetize something, you're looking at install numbers.
It's so ridiculous.
It's such a ridiculous metric to try and follow. And obviously it's had a huge backlash because there's massive problems with the idea of monetizing installs. Not to mention, it won't be retroactive in that they won't look at the amount of installs that somebody's done in the past and then send you a bill for it.
God, can you imagine?
I can. It seems like on the level of stupidity that they're
Yeah,
doing
it
right
does.
now.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
But what they're going to do is say if you were a dev and you made a really cool free to play game that you launched 2 years ago, and it's huge. Maybe you get like 10,000 or 100,000 or a million downloads a month because it's free to play, right? And it's on
Right.
your
People are
phone, and
constantly
it's
going in and downloading on different platforms, and yeah.
super popular. Well, once this effect goes into place, you will now have to pay for those installs that people do. And if your financial model wasn't built to take that into account, you could be screwed. And there's a lot of people who make 100% free games that don't have any sort of microtransaction economy, that just do it for fun, or they're a part of a nonprofit or whatever, that are like, this is going to screw us over big time, especially if we make popular stuff. Their bills could be like thousands and thousands of dollars a month for the amount of downloads and installs. And then other people pointed out how this could be used as a troll mechanic. Yep. Where, say, some game comes out and we go, oh, we don't like this game. Everybody download it and install it like a billion times, and
just use a script where it just constantly downloads.
Yeah. Hackers could. I mean, can you imagine like a DDoS attack wasn't bad enough on like game servers, but now they can take it to the next level and charge people. So this has been evolving, an evolving situation over the last week, because it exploded bigger than I've seen any game story explode in a long time.
It was massive. I mean, game studios were coming out and were like, "You screwed up." Like, yeah, it was pretty wild how many came out in opposition. And when a developer starts swearing in their like message, that they may have messed up. So. Yep. Yeah. Every dev seems to be against it.
I spoke to a personal friend of mine who's published a game in Unity and is now working on the sequel to that game, and it's been a successful project. And I was like, how is this affecting you? And they were like, well, we're probably not going to have to pay too much because we have a set fee for our game download, and it's not like a hugely popular game, so we're probably not going to owe too much. But the fact that they're implementing monetary practices that will retroactively affect a game that they've already published is alarming to them. And they now have to look at Unity as a company that is unpredictable and is going to do these crazy things that may screw them over really horribly down the road. And it's something that I think all indie devs now have to take into account, where they go, oh my gosh, like, we're making a game built on this financial model that we think will be the same when we launch the game, but it could not be, or it could change a month after we launch the game, or it could change at any point. And it feels like we don't have any way to deal with that. And people were even talking about the legality of it too, because it's sort of a weird legal situation, right? Most other situations, you sign up for a contract, or you make a contract with somebody, and that's the rules, and that's how it's going to go until the end of your contract. But with a game service like this, they're sort of
they can
free
change it
to
whenever
use.
they want.
Yeah, they're free to use, and I don't think people really sign up these. They might sign some sort of end user license agreement type thing when they start using it.
So normally, before this nonsense, how did Unity get their money? Was it percentage of sales? Was it?
I think it was a combination. I was trying to look into it, and to be honest, their tiered system is a bit confusing. I was reading through their website, and they have a couple different tiers, and some of them, like the executive branch tier, or the super high end corporate tier, you pay a certain amount of money per year for a seat. So I think it means that if you needed multiple developers to be able to use the Unity license, you might need to pay multiple versions of that fee or something like that. But there's also a free version for hobbyists or personal use.
So if the game sells, do they get like a percentage of the sale?
Yeah, so the free version is like you don't pay anything until the game makes over like $100,000 or something like that, and then you have to start.
But
paying.
They are making money off of it, so that's the whole thing. Is it seems like
they're already
targeting...
making money. They're making enough money to have a studio of 5,000 plus people.
Well, the thing is, it seems like they're going after mobile games, free or just free games in general. They want, so it's because I was
That's where
imagining
they would make most of their money from this update.
Tons of downloads.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of downloads.
Yeah,
but
mobile
they
games
still must
have
be
like
making
100 million downloads, like in no
an
time.
absolutely insane amount. And so it might just be greed. They're like, this would be, we see the numbers. If we can monetize those downloads, then we're going to be making bank. But they have to still be making money off of those free-to-play games because through microtransactions, I'm assuming they get some of that microtransaction money, or every game would be free to play. I feel when they're using that engine.
Yeah,
because
so
then they could just
the microtransaction money would be calculated in the revenue that your game generates, right?
Right. So that's what I assumed. Right.
So
they just
regardless of your revenue model, like if you're selling the game for $50 or if it's free and people are buying cosmetics in game, that's all just calculated towards your profit, and they take a percentage of your profit after a certain point.
Right.
And this is just like, how can we nickel and dime people even further? And it's super predatory.
Literally nickel and diming.
It is literally nickel and diming people. Yeah. But if you go, this mobile game has 100 million downloads in the last 3 months, all of a sudden that nickel and diming turns into a fat paycheck.
A lot of money.
Huge amount of money. And especially if that's a free-to-play game, think about all the free-to-play games where you're like, maybe 5% of the player base.
It could destroy free-to-play games.
Yeah, absolutely. It could destroy a huge portion of the market. And to like sweeten this story even further, so the CEO of Unity, the CEO of Unity is the ex-CEO of EA, which is super cool. Everybody loved him while he was running EA. He actually resigned because the company was performing so poorly under his leadership. Then somehow got promoted to Unity because whatever, I don't know.
Because that's how that works.
There's only like 30 CEOs apparently, and they're like, well, beggars can't be choosers. We got to take
find
this
anyone
guy.
else.
So they bring him on to Unity, and him and like a whole bunch of other executives have been selling off tons of their stock like prior to this announcement.
So did they know it was going to be a bad idea?
I don't.
Why would they sell the
It seems
stock
weird.
Of the company?
It seems wild that they wouldn't know that it was going to be a bad idea. At the same time, why would they have said it if they knew it was going to be a bad idea, right?
Right. Yeah.
So unless the deal was like, hey guys, we're going to announce this terrible thing. Stock is going to go through, is going to crash hard. Sell all your stuff and buy back in, and then we'll come full circle and say that we're not going to do it, and then you'll get in at a lower price.
We're starting to dip our toes into conspiracy theories a little bit.
Well, that would just be insider trading, but
it would be. A little 100% would be. Yeah.
Yeah, people are already saying they should open an investigation, but I mean, I don't know.
The fact that they sold it right before.
I don't know if it was right before. I think it was this year and leading up to it. So I didn't look into like, did they sell it the week before or were they selling it in the months leading up to it? But regardless, if you're running the company and you know that you're going to make this announcement at some point down the year, you can start selling in chunks on your way toward this.
To make it seem less, yeah.
Yeah.
But also selling your own like stocks for your own company feels like you don't trust your own company a little bit. But
yeah, or you need the money for something, and that's what the investigation would sort of determine. Be like, did you actually need the money for a specific thing, or is this tied into you knowing that you were going to tank the share value or whatever? But I mostly feel bad for the people who work at the company who have been working their butts off to make a great engine, because Unity is a very good engine. It's a very competent, it's one of the easiest to learn game dev engines out there. So if you're like starting off and you're like, I want to make my first game, chances are Unity is going to be, or at least would have been, one of the top picks on your list, because it's supposed to be easier to learn than Unreal. And I'm speaking as somebody who doesn't use either engine to make video games, but I have used Unity in the past, and I did make a game with my friend. So we figured it out, right? And so that sucks.
And if you can figure it out, anyone can figure it out.
So it really sucks for indie devs, and it sucks for all the thousands of people working at the company who, if the company does bad, they're going to get fired, right? And if the company does bad because of this terrible CEO's decision that they all said was a bad idea, well, they're not bearing the brunt of that, or they are bearing the brunt of that. The CEO is not. So he's like, well, my bad, guys.
Yeah, my bad. And even if you fire me, I'm getting a golden parachute later, nerds.
Oof.
It's got to be nice being a CEO. Like, you just make money and you just make money.
Well, lots they give you huge shares of the company, right?
Yeah.
They're like,
I wonder what the qualifications are to be a CEO. Like, what do they actually do that makes them, millions and millions every year?
I think you have to be a little bit of a sociopath.
I can do that.
I swear there was a study like a while back on the percentage of CEOs that were like actually like that they thought detached, were sociopath. They were like, just didn't express certain emotional ranges.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, yeah,
now they have come out and said that they are listening to everyone's concerns. There was a statement, and that they apologize for the angst that they
that was
caused.
Such a weird phrase.
And I'd like to think that they were just, in the spur of the moment, they're typing this out and angst, but it comes across very condescending, like, oh, those angsty gamers just so upset over nothing, so angsty.
This is the internet. You give them any little thing to complain about and they'll blow up.
Yeah. So hopefully that means that they're going to be reverting it back to what it was before and that they're not going to be going through with it. But it doesn't matter. Like, the damage is done. And I think that a company's image is important. Mm-hmm. And while people do forget, the ones that won't forget are developers, because they're the ones making the platform. Gamers might forget about this story, but the people that want to make games, when they see this company is unstable and on a whim could completely change the financial structure of the entire system, that could be really detrimental to the long-term success of Unity.
Yeah, I mean, what if they said, guess what? It's $1 for install fees.
Yeah, like, just out of nowhere. It's like, bam. What are you gonna do about it?
Could devs do anything against it?
Delist their games.
There was an article that came out this morning that basically, I don't know if it was a leak, but employees from the company said that there was internal emails going around saying that they were going to walk back parts of this, but not completely. Mm-hmm. And even like not even doing a full reversion to getting rid of this whole announcement and saying this is not going to be part of Unity anymore. That would still end up with a very damaged image, but doing a partial walk back after all of this is like, what are you guys doing? Like, you've got the Unreal Engine is like extremely stiff competition. That's basically a better deal now for most people to use. And you've got completely open source free engines that you can also use. And Unity's like, let's just stack on the price and the cost and the uncertainty of using our platform. You think anybody who's about to start a game project right now is going to pick Unity? Like, no. Absolutely not.
No,
right?
Not at all. Yeah.
So they'll make some money off of the people who are already tied into it, or the poor bastards who are like years into development under Unity and just have to publish with Unity because it makes no sense to change engines at this point. But
some even have committed to it. The people that made Slay the Spire, who are 2 years in development on Unity, said that they are switching over to Unreal now.
Wow.
2 years of development. And while it probably won't take as long because they have, they've got the infrastructure in place, they kind of know how their game is being developed. So it probably won't take as long, but still, that's huge.
So they're working on Slay the Spire too, and I'm
not sure what game they're working on next.
A different game.
Whatever it is, it's been 2 years in development, which is a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, we're switching. Sorry, later, nerds.
That is huge. That's pretty monumental. I mean, of course, you've got like assets and stuff built, but assets are assets. Rebuilding everything within a new engine is not. It's a lot of work. Like, yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be months and months of time, and retraining devs. That's the other part that like. Oh man, that hurts my soul, because there's people, if you go on to like a website like Indeed or like a job finding website and you're looking for game devs, you will find people that have like 10 years Unity engine experience, 15 years Unity dev experience. And it's more common usually with Unity than Unreal, because Unity built itself up much quicker and much more popularly than Unreal in terms of the indie dev scene. And then only recently has Unreal become much more accessible to the bigger audience. And they've sort of taken a page out of Unity's book and been like, oh man, we can make this engine free for everybody and kind of copy their financial model. And so Unreal's kind of catching up to speed, but there's so many veteran Unity devs that are going to be like, boy, that 10 to 15 years of skill all of a sudden becomes worth a lot less than it used to be. And that's freaky.
Sucks.
I hope the company has the tools in place to oust some of these executives and CEOs that are clearly just in it for the bottom line and don't care. Because I mean, this guy was a CEO of Sara Lee, before he got into the game industry. It's not like these people are like, gaming is my passion and that's why I ended up here. They're just these executives that
he's apparently bouncing from company to company at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Grant, I'll give him credit. He's been at EA. He was at EA for a long time. I think from like 97 to like 2004, and then he went off
so he
somewhere
was there
else.
For a while.
And then he came back from like 2007 to 2014. So he had quite a bit of experience in EA as a CEO, but he certainly didn't start out there. And I don't think he's bringing any of his gaming knowledge and expertise to running the company. It's all just dealing dollars
we're also
and stuff.
speculating. We don't really know for sure. But
it's true. This is a lot of speculation, but I would imagine that he's not hyper tuned into the game scene in that sense, because why would you make this decision?
Why would you think install would just be a good idea to monetize? Just the install of it.
It's such a weird angle. Like if you're going to increase the price because you're greedy, you just increase the current revenue model, right?
Yeah.
After you make a certain amount of money beyond a certain point, then we get a little bit more. But this does seem very targeted at those free to play or extremely low cost mobile games and apps and stuff.
I'm 100% convinced they saw the downloads, like the amount of downloads for free to play games, and salivated at the potential numbers. They saw those huge numbers and like, we need a piece of that.
Yeah, it's disappointing, man. And I hope they walk back as much of this as possible, but we'll see I'm very curious to see what the next 2 to 3 months look like, because there's been a lot of talk of like mass employees quitting. Granted, it's very hard to quit in this climate. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, right?
Yeah.
I would never shame anybody into like for sticking with a company that they don't like anymore, because most people don't have the luxury of choice.
Yeah, it's
right?
like, oh, you're working for that company? How dare you? It's like, I have bills to pay. Like, what do you want from me? You know?
But some employees have quit already and talked about it openly, and then I'm curious to see, because Unity will know sooner than anybody else how many more devs are signing up to use their engine, right? If that number just drops off a cliff, they'll be like, did we screw up here? Did we make a big mistake? Especially in the face of Unreal competing at such a high level. This year, Unreal has been like, hey, Unity, by the way, we're like an incredible game engine, same price for the most part, and you get access
We've
to
done
all
a lot
these...
to make it easier for new users to get involved. Yeah,
and now being an Unreal Engine dev seems like it's worth a little bit more than an Unreal or than a Unity engine dev.
They're even starting to try to get kids to get used to Unreal with their whole like Fortnite editor and stuff, to get people comfortable with using the Unreal Engine.
It's brilliant, actually. I think that's one of the smartest projects they've undertaken, because it's sort of a let's go after the Roblox market, and also let's just create tools for young people to learn how to make video games. Because I wish I had that when I was a kid. I would have been all over it.
And I'm guaranteed there's probably going to be, I don't know if we're going to get another Dota, but I'd imagine we could get another Dota. That came from just modding a game, trying something
Warcraft 3,
people,
right?
Yep. It was Warcraft. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All those fun game mods. That is where all the cool stuff comes from. And I bet you something's going to come out of Fortnite, some sort of like runaway hit within the Fortnite editor. What is their editor called? Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's been a little while since I jumped into it, but it is very impressive because you're like, yeah, this is the Unreal Engine showing off everything it can do and super
It's just
accessible.
a more streamlined version of it.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to keep my eyes and ears
Same
out for what's going on with Unity. It's pretty crazy stuff, man. But great for Epic, I guess. Not that they need
every other engine company is just like, yeah.
Well, there is an open source one that I want to read into more called Godot, or there's like a billion different ways to pronounce this, and nobody can agree. Yeah,
I think it's Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. Even they have clips of the CEO of the engine of this company not knowing the right way to pronounce the name of it. So we'll just call it Godot.
Okay.
I think it's Godot.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
But it's open source. It's free. I think there's like some limitations in the licensing, but I think for the most part, you can make a game with it and publish it for free. So that's kind of exciting because like right now we're using open source free software, OBS, to make this podcast.
Yep.
And it's the best in the industry right now.
Everyone uses it.
Everybody uses it. It's well supported. And if they could do that with a game engine, that'd be dope. Because that's the other thing that freaks people out is, okay, well, what if we jump from Unity to Unreal? We trust Epic. Okay, until the next CEO comes in and is like, I need to get those numbers up. Let's start charging for installs because you don't have any protection under it.
Some faith. You have to have some faith in the system that they're not going to completely just, ruin their company by being greedy. But yeah, they could happen for Epic too.
Yeah. Well, it's a dictatorship, right? It's like that's how companies are run. You've got the person at the top making all the calls and everybody below them just has to go along with it, even if it's a terrible decision. So if you get a bad dictator in running the company at one point in time, all of a sudden things could be real bad for a while. So you're putting a huge amount of your faith in, boy, I hope Epic is a good company in 5 years from now when our game is about ready to publish, right?
Yeah. So, speaking of money, transition here.
Yeah.
Have you noticed the recent trend in 2023? And it happened a little bit before too, of every game having a early access paid deluxe edition to play the game.
Yeah,
early.
Is that recent? I feel like that's been happening for like the past 3-4 years pretty consistently.
Really?
Well,
this consistently?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Every game, so
this year
even
has been
the like indie stuff is getting crazy. It's early access. You get it 4 days. I just played Payday 3 today. And that was because I have the gold edition, that gets you in 3 days early, and of course it costs a little bit more. It's aggressive, and it's not going to stop until people stop paying for it. So I don't know what the solution is there.
Even if people stop paying for it, I think it's just now going to be a bonus. I think even if it like it starts to dip, and people are like, I don't know. But especially with Game Pass, because of Game Pass, they're trying to get more people to buy the full version, and this is their way to do that. It's like, oh, you could just get it on Game Pass. So like Lies of P, great game, been playing it a lot. It's on Game Pass, but if you wanted it 3 days early, $70. So give us your money if you can't wait to play it now. I don't like it.
I'm as a content creator, I find it super annoying because we are almost forced to pay this extra fee.
It feels like a streamer tax.
Totally, dude. Because if I was just gaming and I wasn't worried about making YouTube videos, I'd be like, no, of course I'm going to get it on Game Pass. Why would I drop $70 to play it 3 days early? I can wait. I'll be fine. And
this might just be a like me problem or a content creator problem where it's just like I feel like I need to play the game early. So because that's part of the job is to play games when they come out.
You know what it is though, but imagine if you're like the world's biggest Call of Duty fan, right? And the game's coming out, they do like a week early, right? Or something. They give you quite a bit of early access.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact amount, but yeah.
They always do something. And you have to buy the super loot crate edition,
super deluxe. Yeah.
And then you get in super early. And I could see myself going for that if I was like a hardcore fan of a specific franchise. Like I would probably do it for Battlefield if I wasn't a content creator and I was still like the big Battlefield fanboy.
They did do it for Battlefield.
Yeah. But I'm saying if I would probably still do it as a gamer outside of the content creator sphere.
Okay, I see you.
But just for like one franchise. But that's the thing is this franchises only need that core player base for each franchise. And then it makes sense to do the early access. You get to be a beta tester.
So just this month or around like a month, it's Payday 3, Lies of P, Mortal Kombat, Starfield have all had early access.
The Starfield one was not cheap either, man.
No, it was like 110, right? Say?
Yeah.
Or was that, no, maybe that was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was 110.
I think Starfield was at least 100. It might have been more.
Yeah, it was
I can't
close
remember.
to that. Yeah.
And
so it's becoming very pervasive.
Yeah, unless you're buying the iWatch edition or whatever the heck they came out with, you're not getting anything for it. Like they give you some sort of...
You do get expansions for some of them.
Oh, did you get an expansion with the like Uber edition or something?
Yeah. So it's not like you're getting nothing, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them it'll be like $10 extra. So like Lies of P was $10 more, and you get a couple cosmetic items. So there are other reasons. So they're at least not like super blatant about it. But I feel like the vast majority of people that are spending that kind of money aren't doing it for the expansion. That's just an added bonus. They just want to play it now.
Yeah. I'm more accepting of like having a full DLC included in the price that might otherwise cost $15-20 later. Or like you save money by buying it early than later. I'm fine. I'm more okay with that. But when they're like, here's the cool Underworld skin or the Nicki Minaj skin for Call of Duty, if you buy early,
that's at least worth $30.
I mean, okay.
Come on now.
Bad example. I would definitely pay for the Nikki skin, but you know, when it's just junky cosmetic stuff and you're like, I really just want to buy this for early access, and you're justifying it with like a skin that you cranked out in a week or something, or some guy, Bob, in the back room, you're like, Bob, go make the Nicki Minaj skin. He's like, all right, fine. That's how it works. I've been in a game studio, Matt. I know how these things work.
Clearly.
It's like Office Space, the dude with the stapler in the back, you know, they're like, they give him the Nicki Minaj skin. Like, make this. Yeah. Like, okay.
So it's not going to go anywhere. It's just a trend that it's probably because I'm just a content creator. Woe is me, but.
It is annoying.
It is annoying, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the way the industry is going now. Everything's hyper monetized. Everything's overly, you pay a set fee, you pay for early access, and then there's microtransactions on top of it. And
yeah,
that's the world we live in. But you know what? There are diamonds out there. There's cool indie developers that are like, we're not going to do all this BS. And you pay $15 and you get to play a great game. And there's some of those out there. But you really do need a small team of people that are more interested in making a good game versus draining every penny out of your bank account, you know.
Like for example, Baldur's Gate, it's been a month. It still has a peak 24 hours of 340,000 concurrent players on Steam.
Insane, dude.
Insane.
How
no
fast?
No microtransactions, no, like technically they had the early access because it was like an actual early access, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't cost any more. Then there wasn't like, it's just a great game. It sold incredibly well. Almost 340,000. That's unbelievable. It's a single player game. That's wild.
That must be Nintendo doesn't give the data on their like Zelda games, but it's got to be up there with like some of Nintendo's biggest single player titles, right?
So, yeah.
It's got to be huge.
For sure.
Do you think Starfield's going to drop off faster than Baldur's Gate?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you burned out on that?
Yeah.
I've run my course as well.
I enjoy it. It's kind of like what happened with Skyrim back in the day, many moons ago with Skyrim. I put 60 hours in, loved it, and then I hit a wall because the game just sort of, I don't know, the
You're not discovering anything new.
Yeah, like there was some things that I was discovering, but you start to see the repeatedness of it, and you're like, okay, I've seen this, done that, I'm done, and then I just never went back. Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel with Starfield. I also think that their whole New Game Plus system is annoying.
It's very tedious.
Yeah, and the fact that you lose
all
everything,
the same missions again, you're like, okay.
Yeah, the fact that you lose all of your ships, all of your weapons, you get a space suit. Whoo!
Yeah,
you do, and you do keep your perks and things like that, which is nice. It's not like a completely, but it really means that all the investment you put into your original playthrough is completely gone. So if you wanted to just start completely fresh, but with more perks, then you got that. But
it's annoying. Yeah, it's very annoying. So I immediately after I beat the game, I went back to an old save because I was like, I want to play with the stuff that I got and my spaceship. 100%. Where'd my cool spaceship go? I need my spaceship back. You know, it just felt like throwing away all of that build up towards something. And it seems like even, I won't give away any spoilers, but narratively, they could have easily tied it into you keeping some stuff, right? Like,
right. They could have easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's a video let's be honest,
game.
It's not like that narrative was based in hard science. It was about as wishy-washy as you could get. Yeah.
They could do whatever they want.
Gandalf could have shown up and made a magical portal, and I would have just been like, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I still think Starfield's a great game, but I have fallen off a bit. I mean, Starfield, it's still 24-hour peak of 200,000 on Steam.
Yeah.
So it's still doing really well.
It's cool. Nah, I mean, yeah. If you like space games, you've probably played it or are going to play it when it's at a more reasonable price or on some sort of free pass type thing. Are you going to be playing Payday 3 today on your stream?
Yes, that is the plan. I have it downloaded. I'm ready to go.
Are you excited?
I'm ready to rob some people.
Yeah.
Of their hard-earned money.
Yeah. I find myself, as I get older, sort of feeling bad that we're just killing these like low-income security guards at banks.
And the thing is, it's like there's so many. There's like waves and waves. The thing about Payday is that it is a zombie wave shooter disguised as a heist game where it's just hordes and hordes of people.
Yeah,
throwing themselves at you.
I was
obviously not.
I was
zombies,
playing with a crew today, and my comment was basically, how much are they paying these security teams? Because the last 10 dudes that came through the front door just got gunned down. And the 11th guy is like, I'm here. He's like ready to go.
Yeah, if I saw that, I'd be like, I'm not going in there. What do you mean?
What are their life insurance plans? My God.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you finish a mission and it says like kills like 270. I'm like, did they send a small army after us? Like,
yes. As a matter of fact, they did. They did.
And then we're in there to rob some stuff, and those poor like minimum wage security guard guys are just like walking around. They're like, hey, you shouldn't be here. And then you just
what are you doing? What
cap
are you
them in
doing
the
here?
head, and you're like, oh. And then you get away, and you're like, all that for $180,000. Yep. After you get out, because of course you botched the extraction. You're like, oh crap, we set off the alarm. Everybody's
now you're the most wanted man in the history of history.
Yeah,
was it worth it?
Yeah, you gotta escape. You've killed almost 300 people, and you get away with 180 grand. And of course, in a helicopter, I'm like, that helicopter is worth $1 million in itself.
It's so expensive. Helicopters are incredibly expensive.
They're very
to
expensive.
Man fuel and everything. Yeah.
That always cracked me up. That always cracked me up in Battlefield Hardline. Is you would like take these helicopters in with the miniguns on the side to like to extract like 40 grand from a vault or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this chopper's got to be worth like 10 million at least.
Just the minigun on the side, like the ammo, just the ammo alone, right?
If you can afford this chopper, you don't need to rob a bank, guys. Come on. You own islands, for Christ's sake. But those games always crack me. They just don't know how else to do it. They're like, well, it gets boring if only there's only like a SWAT team, like a single SWAT team. It's like 12 guys. Go through them, you're done.
It would be cool if it was more I haven't played Payday 3, but I think it'd be cool if there was more of a focus or a different style of Payday style, a heist game where it was more about the stealth and about numerous ways of getting into the vault. It is
actually that. The thing is you just screw up most of the time.
Yeah.
And then it just turns into the police wave assault thing, which is really not that fun. But
I think what I was pretty much just describing is a Hitman game, but with co-op. Bank heists.
Yeah.
And co-op.
And it's co-op. It is cool. You can do all that stuff in it. So you'll play it today. You'll see that like you can get security codes and then like tell them to your teammates, or like you'll be in the lobby and they'll be in the back room. They'll be on a computer and they'll be like, it says the vault code is the employee of the month, like employee number or something like that, and then you'll be in the lobby and you'll find the employee of the month poster and you'll
see, that's cool.
So like you're kind of communicating, and then like certain people can go into mask on mode, which once you're in mask on, you can't go into mask off. You can't
take it off. I didn't like that.
There's weird stuff like that where you're just like, I've got my mask on and it's glued to my face
and
now.
It's on forever.
So then you're the guy who's like taking out security guards and hiding the bodies, but you can't
silently
then go back into the public. So then
does each mission, because I played the beta and I did play Payday 2 in the past, but not a ton of it. Mm-hmm. Does each mission have multiple ways of getting into the vault other than just stealth and, loud?
I don't. So there's always multiple ways to get into buildings and environments.
Uh-huh.
In terms of, there's probably different ways to sort of complete a mission in terms of the order of operation and which rooms you lock down first and stuff. But I do think there are certain objectives that there's more or less only one way to get to, but the lead up to get to that objective could be very different, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
If you need to open some sort of super secure vault where you need to like take two hostages that are both the security people and like have them turn their keys at the same time. Okay, that's the only way to open that vault, is to get those two people to do that. But the process to get those two people could be like 10 different ways or something. So it does seem like they have a lot of variety. And then on top of that, you have a really insanely, I don't want to say deep, but expansive perk system. So you can like cultivate your character to be like the stealth character that like has all the good hacking abilities and doesn't get spotted by security cameras as easy and that kind of stuff. So
cool.
I haven't even been able to get into that yet because it's a fairly lengthy rank up process, and you're not even going to get access to most of that stuff till you're probably 20 hours into the game or something.
Cool.
So yeah, that part of it looks cool. I think people are going to like it a lot, especially with given how many fans there are of Payday 2. This seems like pretty much a straight upgrade in just about every way. Although I don't think it's Unreal Engine 5. The devs said it was going to be Unreal Engine 5, and I think it's UE4.
Doesn't look Unreal 5, but
yeah, I think they're planning an upgrade maybe later in the year. I'm not 100% sure on when that's going to happen.
It's kind of strange to just release the game and be like, all right, we got a new engine. Here it is. But cool.
It might not be that hard for them to upgrade to it. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows, man? So you've been following, I think it's been repopularized by something Shroud said on his stream, which then got retweeted.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
That Call of Duty is being pushed away from mouse and keyboard, and it's just not fun to play in lobbies on mouse and keyboard because there's just so many things going against you. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. And this isn't like necessarily a new topic, but
no,
it's one of those, it's popular now because Shroud said a thing and then it got retweeted.
Yeah,
but
of course.
He is right. And he's echoing basically what a lot of people have been saying since the early days of not even the latest COD game, but the last COD game and the ones before that, especially.
It's been an issue I've had with Call of Duty for years, like
ever since it went crossplay. It's been
not
really,
even crossplay,
really bad.
Even before that too.
It's just been pronounced with crossplay, I would say.
Yeah.
because you watch console people play and you're like, you can't even see your target because there's so much junk going on, and then their little iron sight snaps to the target. They can use iron sights for one because you don't need
necessarily the aim assist helps out.
Yeah, so you don't have to take a red dot as one of your weapon upgrades, right? Your pick 5 or whatever your weapon upgrade system is. And so COD is really hitting a point where the parity between the PC and the console experience is really unenjoyable, I would say. And it's definitely designed as like a console first experience, which makes sense if you know your audience. Most of them are on console, but you have a PC crowd that wants a more refined gunplay experience, and one that takes into account all the little nuances of PC combat, which is lots of visual recoil and muzzle flash and smoke and debris on screen. Makes it really hard to track targets. If that's your game design, then everybody should be subjected to the detriments that come with it, but console players aren't. So you have all this crazy aim snap that just shoots through stuff, and then it's not COD exclusive. It's not even just
the visuals of it. It's like aim punch. I don't know. I've hated aim punch for the longest time because it always hurts the person who maybe didn't see the engagement. Like they started the engagement late, right? So not only if you are getting shot at first are you at a huge disadvantage, but then on top of that you're now aim punching like crazy, so you just miss all your shots as well. And so you put that in tandem with the visual recoil, the clutter, and all of that in combination, and then you're going against someone who has that little bit of aim assist, so that even if they aim punch, it snaps right back down. It gets very frustrating. You're like, how are you hitting all of your shots when I'm not? Like, I'm just not. Like, how are you doing this?
When you've played enough PC games where you can tell when you like actually go up against a hacker who's got like aim snap effect, you're like, oh, that's what it feels like to go up against a hacker. And then you play Call of Duty and you're like, oh, it's almost the same type of mechanics where it just kind of locks you on to a degree, and you're like, oh, I just got hit with 20 rounds out of that 30 round mag. That's pretty wild.
I don't know if we should be compared it exactly to hacking, but
it's a similar experience of just feeling that lock on, like they're not missing shots, oddly, in a very difficult situation where you're like, I'd be expecting them to miss a lot more, you know?
And it's not that I think it's fine that console has aim assist. I think it's part of FPS on console, because like if you didn't have it, it'd probably be very frustrating for the average player because they don't play games all day long where they don't need aim assist. So I think it's fine. It also puts it more in line with mouse and keyboard because of the precision of just using a mouse. But I really would like them to remove all those other things that feel like remove the accuracy and just the enjoyment of playing an FPS game. Like you said, the visuals and aim punch and all of that. If they got rid of all of that, or at least minimized it, I think it would be much more in line and it would be way less frustrating, at least personally.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on all of that stuff. And I've complained about all that stuff in games that wasn't COD before, like Battlefield games that have way too much visual clutter and things going on, and visibility issues. And those have been long ongoing fights between players and developers, and eventually the art team will scale stuff back. It feels like a battle between gamers and the art department mostly, because
they want it to look realistic and gritty, and you feel like you're there, and that's important. It is.
Yeah,
but
it might even be the marketing department that's like, we need this trailer to look awesome, so I need more screen shake, and I need more lens flare and more motion blur and more, and you're just like, yeah, but this sucks as a gamer. And they did bring up Halo. Shroud brought up Halo when he was talking about this comparison, saying that Halo is a much better game. And what's interesting about Halo is Halo actually, it's so weird to think about it, but they do compensate PC players with a certain level of auto aim on PC as well.
Yep.
And
because they were getting dumpstered. They just literally, like actually literally. Yep.
And as much as I'm not a huge fan of that being the solution to counter auto aim on console, I think it is better than just letting PC players get dunked on, right? So my ideal solution would be fix all the visual crazy clutter and then tone down auto aim to the point where it's more in line where your skill level on console matches more up with the skill level on PC and you're having more equal fights as opposed to.
And there's never gonna be a perfect balance, honestly. I don't think they're ever gonna get there because it's an aim assist. You know, it's there's always going to be that discussion what's too much, what's too little. I do think it needs to be in games. I'm not saying it needs to be removed entirely, but yeah, I do agree that something should be done. And I'm hoping that the new Call of Duty, as excited as I am for Modern Warfare 2 remastered, essentially.
What the names are going to be so insane. Can you imagine 10 years from now? What is it going to be like? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 remastered, second edition, limited remake. I don't know. Like, I don't know what they can do.
You're not wrong. I mean, if we're already at Modern Warfare 3 now, if they go down this route, like in 10 years, are we going to be Modern Warfare 1 again? Like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
It's also it's the Disney effect of them not knowing what to do creatively. So they're just remaking everything now.
Yeah.
And
but this time it's live action.
Yeah. It's just going to be, and I mean, there's going to be a lot of leeway there for them to do that because in 5-10 years, all the graphics will be better and we'll all be playing with our haptic feedback controllers and whatever, and they'll be like, well,
we're going to be plugged into the internet straight into our eyeballs.
Yeah, man. Have you read Ready Player One? Such a cool book about what the future's going to be like.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch the Ready Player One movie?
I did. One of my favorite scenes, hands down, one of my favorite scenes is that they were like, there's the big battle at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's these kids that are participating because everyone in the VR is participating. And there's these kids, they're playing with VR and they're running in the sidewalk with cars driving by. I'm like, they're going to get hit. What are you doing? I'm getting old when I'm thinking about the children.
Well, that. I knew you were going to say that because that irked me so much as well. Yeah. Because I'm like, you're making a whole movie about virtual reality and you're shooting all the scenes as if you've never played virtual reality before because they've got like one dude's hanging on like cables in a truck, and he's like running in place or some crap. You're like, well, that looks like a nightmare. And then other people running down the street with goggles on. And you're like, you're going to hit a phone pole. A car's going to hit you. You're going to trip over the curb and die. Like, none of it made any sense. Nonsense. Total nonsense. And like, at least in the book, they describe like being plugged into like this haptic feedback, whatever, this suspended thing where you're running and doing all your motions. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, I buy that. But they never really explained what the low grade, the cheap version of that was.
Yeah, if you're not like super rich with your crazy VR setup, what do you do?
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever tried do you play VR at all? Do you have a VR headset?
No, I've never gotten into it yet.
They haven't really figured out the running and walking thing in VR. So like,
oh yeah, no.
If you use the little joystick on the controller as your like D-pad movement type thing and pushing forward makes you go forward, it's incredibly nauseating from a first person perspective. And you
have to get your sea legs.
I don't even know if you can, man. I make it like 40 minutes before I'm like ready to puke, and that's like really trying. And then they added this little vignette thing that like makes a circle around your vision. And that actually helps a lot to reduce the nausea when you're moving. But also it looks like you're moving down a tunnel every time you move.
It's kind of ironic. It's like, I want to get immersed, right? So it looks like I'm actually there. But then they close it in. So it's like, why am I even doing VR then if I can't see the periphery? That's I would imagine, one of the big reasons why you would want to do VR. But
there's a lot of problems and limitations. And every time I put on a headset, I'm like, why did Zuckerberg just drop billions of dollars into this technology?
Well, I think there's going to be some games that will benefit from it, because aren't like car games and
racing
things where
and
you're
flying games are pretty darn cool in VR.
Because your brain is like, oh yeah, I've been in this situation before. I know that I'm not actually moving, but everything around me is moving. I can do this. I'm cool. But as soon as you start to move, your brain's like, whoa, what are you doing? This isn't making sense right now. So.
And I forgot what the study is, but there is a certain percentage of the population that is not affected by motion sickness. You're like, okay, well, I
definitely am. So that's one
I
thing
am
I'm
too.
worried about.
I think most people are affected by motion sickness. So you can't design a giant product like this around a subset of the population that maybe will be into the like first person VR titles.
Now, what we need is a big, and I think there are some companies that are doing this where you get like a warehouse and then you have walls and everything in there. And it could look stupid, but you put the VR headset on and then it maps it to the walls that you have in the actual warehouse. So you can actually touch a wall in game and it's right there. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're actually physically walking around and your character is keeping up with you. That would be cool. I think don't get me wrong, as much as I'm poo-pooing on the current state of VR, I think there is some really cool stuff in these sort of amusement park type setups, and then also augmented reality where you're like, you put on glasses like you're wearing now, but you hold up your little game controller and it looks like an M16, and then you pull the trigger and like it's playing firing sounds into your ear and showing a muzzle flash, and you're like, whoa, that's cool. Now I can play like milsim laser tag, right? Instead of paintball or airsoft or whatever, I can do this cool augmented reality VR game. I think there's a huge amount of potential in that, and those little warehouse things sound pretty darn cool too. It's just that thing that gets really tricky for making home entertainment stuff, because it's all like one of the most popular. Because most people aren't going to go to a warehouse for cool VR. Yeah,
and one of the most popular VR games is Beat Saber, right? So like, I'm not knocking on Beat Saber, it's cool, but when you think of $1,000 headset and then like all the other peripheral technology behind it required to get the cool stuff working, you're like, well, is this really what you buy $1,000 headset to do? Play Beat Saber? It's why
I haven't gotten into it, because it feels like most stuff is just tech demos, cool tech demos, but there's only a couple big, like fully fleshed out games, and I just don't want to drop $1,000 on like the Steam version, or what's it called? Do you know? It doesn't matter.
The Steam, it's not the Vive,
it doesn't
Voxel,
matter.
I don't know what it is. Something. Yeah, that one's $1,000, and then Facebook's coming out with their new Quest 3 or something, or they did, or it's coming out right now. But yeah, they're dumping a lot of money into it. I'm just, every time a new one comes out and I see the latest tech, I'm sort of like, this is cool, but also I don't want to do it for very long. That's always my takeaway, is like, that was neat. I'd be comfortable not putting that on for another week or so, you know.
You just gotta force it, and then you'll be good.
It does make me sick, man. And I was talking,
the thing is, like, you don't want to feel sick. Like your body's like, I don't want to feel sick. Why would I do that again?
Exactly, because it lasts for a while, hours sometimes. And you're like, I just don't feel good. Like last time I got sick from one, I was out for a couple hours. I had to go like get all this like protein and stuff to like just make me feel better, and I was just like, I'm not, who wants to do that, right? Who wants to willingly make themselves feel sick? I was talking to Drewski about this because he plays VTOL VR, and I want to hop in there and play with him a bit.
So that game seems cool.
It does look really cool. And he says, before we play, you should just go into the flight sim training thing, and just like get into a plane and do like 30 loops and just see how you feel, because you need to train your body for this. And I was like, oh God damn it. Like, I don't want to like physically condition myself to play a video game, you know. That's like,
and it's not like you're conditioning your muscles, you know, where it's like, oh, you're just a little sore. It's like, no, I want to throw up, and that's not a fun.
Yeah. You're basically training your brain to understand, to detach itself from the virtual reality, which is sort of weird that to enjoy the experiences, you have to get to a point where your brain understands the disconnect much better, and thus becomes less immersive, right? Because you're like, I'm in a room right now looking at screens on my face, and that's what my brain understands, as opposed to I'm in a fighter jet, like doing
I'm
barrel
in a
rolls.
fantasy world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll see. I'll keep you posted on how that goes, man. Let me know.
I
did do an acrobatics plane flight when I was like a kid, where I went up in a biplane and they're doing barrel rolls and loops and stuff, and I was like thumbs up the whole way. But I don't know, I'm a little older now. You notice when you get older, you
Yes.
start to get
Oh, yeah.
dizzier much quicker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
Sometimes
what's that
you're like,
about?
why do I just feel bad?
I moved too quickly. Now I
Yeah,
feel
what is
bad.
happening? What?
Well, you're a
100%.
you're a ex-gymnast now. I mean, you must be very much more aware of how certain moves make you feel sick or uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's been 15 years now, but yeah.
Yeah, you're not doing the pommel horse anymore, Matt? Or
Not anymore, no.
you don't
God,
have a
it
pommel
would
horse off
absolutely
to
destroy
the
my
side of
body.
your camera?
No, I got a full gymnasium off to the side over there. Hey, tons of people here too. Just got great noise canceling technology.
That'd be a good stream thing. You know, you can do your handstands and then you could do your pommel horse and your. Was that your main thing? Your main
That
event?
was, yeah.
Can you do the?
Do the pommel horse, yeah.
Is it a German or German origin?
I don't know. I just thought it was funny to do a pommel horse.
That is your like go-to accent. Sometimes the German people.
See Hans? Yeah, no, it is that's literally the only accent I have. Yeah. CK German, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. You want to hear about Star Citizen news?
Absolutely. I saw your video about how they're adding in persistent hangers.
Yeah, Matt,
which is really cool.
I'm like flattered that you watch my content still. I'm like, oh, yeah. Man. I would tune into your streams more if they didn't happen like in the middle of my children's bedtime, you know.
I'd watch your content if it didn't suck.
If it was on during the day when I had time to watch, I'd tune into your streams.
Well, thank you. So continue.
Right. Star Citizen. They're finally doing some stuff that's got me like, I mean, everything about Star Citizen excites me, but this latest, and I should preface this when I say there's an update for Star Citizen, it's really them talking about a thing that they're going to do. Like, there's very little actual stuff that's happening versus stuff that they're talking about doing in Star Citizen.
So they haven't actually, it's okay.
No, but it's on the roadmap-ish now. So they've sort of been like, this is coming next. This is next up. So it's persistent hangers, and persistent entity streaming has been the last major update to the game that happened this year, which allows players, guns, items, spaceships, everything to persist in the universe pretty much indefinitely, although they have written some cleanup code around certain areas of the game so that you're not just living in a giant trash pit whenever you walk out of your bedroom or something. Yeah.
Yep.
But then the next phase of this is persistent hangers. So basically you'll get a home base hanger that will have varying sizes depending on what size you bought in the game or whatever. And you can put multiple ships in here, multiple storage crates of whatever you want. You can put in armor racks, potentially a hab unit at some point. And this will be the first thing in the game that feels like a player-owned house. Like other MMOs, you can get housing, right? And then you can upgrade your housing or something. You pay a little money and it turns into the next tier of house. This will sort of be Star Citizen's version of that, in a way that seems like it's replicating a lot of Starfield's customization with what you could do with the outposts that you can build, where you can just very naturally place items and objects around that will have some sort of functionality or some sort of meaning. So if you wanted your all your gear that was set up for FPS missions on one area of your hangar, you could get all your gears and guns and everything up on racks and ready to go. So when you're ready to run a mission, you're just like, all right, load up, guys. And then you grab all that stuff, you go. The other cool aspect of this cargo update that looks really exciting to me is they're taking the cargo grid of ships, and previously you could just snap cargo containers to these cargo grids for transporting them from point A to point B and then offloading them and selling them or doing whatever you're doing. But now they're allowing the cargo grid to snap virtually any object in the game to it, So you can take a giant torpedo, snap it to your cargo grid if you need to move a torpedo around. You can snap a spaceship to the cargo grid. So these large hauling ships rather, have big cargo grids on the exterior. So you'll be able to snap spaceships to the outside of other spaceships.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, it looks quite cool. And it kind of solves some of the problems that the game has, which is small ships can't jump really long distances. So now you could that to ferry transport them. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of setting up some really fun logistic ideas and even some Q ship or some piracy opportunities where you think you're about to come across a lonely cargo vessel and all of a sudden like 8 fighters detach from it.
Just starts detaching to like, what up, baby? That's cool.
Right? It sounds pretty dope.
Yeah. Well, so that's kind of the whole fantasy is to have your own place. What I am hoping that they eventually get to, and this is something that I wish Starfield also did. I mean, these games are probably never going to get there, but having your ship also be a home where the interior you customize and you've got, this ship here is for like kind of all purpose, right? We've got, we want to do like all missions here, but we've got our cargo, we've got different customization on the inside to really make it your own. And then I bring that ship back to our hangar, which is really the main base, our main hub, which we've also fully customized. We've gotten all the loot from all the other missions that we've been on. And to have your main home and then a home away from home in your ship, I think would be incredible. But will they ever be able to finally deliver that vision? We've been saying this for a decade now. So I think keep my fingers crossed.
I do think they will. I think all the tech that they've recently implemented is basically just like the first step in hopefully only 2 steps to get there. And Starfield does a really cool job of allowing you to customize your ship and be like, this is where the crew hang out and this is my quarters. And I put a plushie on the bed and I put up a poster of so-and-so. And they have all of that planned for Star Citizen, and it has been from day one. You can even get the plushies and the little ornaments and the decor, and you can actually, right now, you can put them in your spaceship, and they will persist.
Oh, okay.
It is not as well set up as Starfield in that if you try and put a plushie on the dashboard of your ship, it might not stay there. It might fall off. It might get stuck in some weird corner and explode your ship. Like it's still got
as the plushie. It's a hazard. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a very infamous bug from the early days of the game where one of the ships would just randomly explode after a while of flying it, and they found after a tester just found this out randomly that there's like a little dice or something like that hanging from one of the things, and every time it knocked against the frame it would do like a percentage of damage to the ship. So after a while it would just
your ship dies
be flying and it just explodes randomly, and you're like, what just happened? You're like, well,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, you're like, that's what you get for making a sim, guys. Like you're gonna have 1,000 times more bugs than any other game. But so what Star Citizen needs to do, and this is something that I'm hoping we can kind of like hammer home the point to CIG sooner rather than later, is create a situation in which the interior layout of your ship persists upon reclaiming or respawning that ship, because you're going to lose your ship all the time. That's the nature of Star Citizen. Is it's either going to be a bug, it's going to be you underestimating your combat skills, you getting jumped by other players, any number of reasons, right? You needing to randomly log out at a bad time where you're not back in your ship and you lose it,
right. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen a lot.
It's part of the game.
Yeah. But to lose all of your interior setup and all the cool customization that you could do kind of kills that sense of home away from home. You want people to be able to check out your ship and see all the cool modifications and stuff you've done to it. And so they have to create a system, which they should have all the tools to do right now. They just need to prioritize it. And I think there's a bunch of other things that have been priority, but I think the hangars and then doing a ship interior that persists even after death would be a big deal, because everybody wants the Millennium Falcon, right? You want your secret cargo compartment that you installed. You want your little 3D chess table. You want your cool posters, your modified control panels, or your whatever you did to your ship.
They want to feel like it's their own, and it's not just
I want to be able to walk into your ship and be like, oh yeah, this is Matimi0's ship because he likes to have these things over there, and I know that he has all his spacesuits up against the wall on this rack and whatever.
Like, I really thought you were going to go with, yeah, I know this is his ship because he's got the big anime posters on the side.
Yeah, he has this giant collection of anime body pillows and life-size dolls. I don't know what's going on in here. It's getting weird.
I told you that in secret.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, we can edit it out, Matt.
Okay, good.
It's where all your money goes. All your content creator money goes. If you just pan your webcam slightly to the left, there's just a giant army of like mannequins.
Gee, that would be so terrifying. Are you kidding me? Just a wall of dolls.
It'd be interesting though. I support it, Matt.
I mean, it would be interesting. It'd be weird, but
oh man,
interesting is a word you could use to describe that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting is a great word, Matt. It can either be insulting, it can be, it can be whatever you want it to be.
That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited for the next Star Citizen update is allegedly dropping next week, assuming everything gets fixed. Yes. I don't know if it'll be ready for Adventure
I'll keep my
Time.
fingers crossed on it because I want it to be good.
Yeah. This won't be Persistence next week, though. It's just going to be some other stuff. But, I didn't think so. Yeah.
Cool.
Any, what have you been playing this week?
What have I not been playing, LevelCap?
Yeah.
What have I been playing? I played Mortal Kombat, which was fun. I've never played a Mortal Kombat game before, ever.
Do you play fighting games?
Nope. It was my first one.
How are you at them?
The best. I played through the entire campaign. It took me about 7.5 hours, and it was really good. The ending was a little rushed, but I was very surprised by how cohesive the story was and how they were able to like weave in all the characters so you could play each character. And like the story was nonsensical. But
sure, it was
interesting.
Yeah,
but it was interesting, and it was well voice acted, except for Megan Fox. She's in the game.
Megan Fox is in there. Interesting.
She's in the game, yeah, and
as a character and a voice.
As a character, yes, and a voice, yes. She even looks like she's like a demon. Yeah, and her performance was not. It's like, did the director just not, or did she just not care? Did she not have good direction? Because it's very dry. Anyways, besides the point.
Yeah.
She's in it. Fun story. I had a lot of fun. I played on a medium and didn't have too much problem. I hear when you bump it up to hard, it gets like really hard. So I didn't want to, because it was my first time. But overall, I was impressed. It was a really well made game with tons of combos and different ways of approaching combat, which was overwhelming for my little brain.
Dude, those combos are like 17 steps long sometimes, where you're just like left, up, down, A, B, left, right, and you're just like, how many of these things do I have to memorize?
I had someone come in and they're like, I love watching a new person play the game because you get so excited over just like a single move. And I would be, I'd do like a combo, right? At least for me. And that it would be like this really crazy flamboyant thing. And then, but it would just be one move.
Yeah.
And when you actually watch someone play, they're stringing them all together.
Yeah.
And it's crazy and incredibly complex. And I was only just scratching the surface.
Sure.
I don't plan on ever becoming.
You're not going to go to the fighting game tournaments and stuff.
No.
I wish fighting game esports was bigger. That would, like, I know it is a thing.
It's reasonably big.
Is it? It's nowhere near as big as like a major esport though, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But they do, like, it's usually they think they like come together. Like, isn't it Evo? Am I thinking that? It's probably because I don't live in that space.
I don't either. I have no idea what the big fighting games are. Is it the latest Street Fighter? Is Tekken still a thing? Is it Mortal Kombat? I don't know.
I couldn't say. Yeah, I don't know.
The last time I seriously played fighting games was on a Super Nintendo. So if that gives you any
That does give me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I guess in fairness, I played quite a bit of Smash Brothers and a little bit of the
Yeah, I did. I played that. Technically, I guess if you go
Soul
with that route, I
Calibur,
have played.
which would have
I
been like
did play
Xbox.
those.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, Soul Calibur
But
for the jiggle physics, of course. But
of course, yeah,
Yeah.
you're a man of class. The other game I played is Lies of P, which is a Dark Souls Bloodborne clone, and it's probably the best clone Souls game ever. Like, there's been a lot of companies that have tried to mimic the Souls franchise, and they've always fallen short. They always just feel off.
Yeah.
The ones that try to do something different, like Neo and the Star Wars games, like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, like they do like their own thing, and those are really good. But purely a clone where it's like, we are Souls, we're just not called it. This one is fantastic. The setup behind it is that you're a puppet. You play as basically Pinocchio, Lies of P, Pinocchio.
Oh,
in a
it's
world.
not like a Pinocchio. It is Pinocchio.
Your dad is Geppetto.
How the heck did they get the licensing for this?
I don't know.
Is it like officially? Is it like a Disney game or like?
No. I don't think so.
Okay,
so they just Gemini.
Is
Gemini
Pinocchio
is
not a Disney-owned IP? Like,
it
is
might
it like
be so old that they can't.
Or is it like an old? Oh yeah, you lose intellectual property rights at a certain point or something.
Yeah.
Unless the story of Pinocchio is like originally an old fable that Disney never owned or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know the legality of it.
It's a Dark Souls Pinocchio style game. That's wild.
Yeah, so your character looks like Timothy Chalamet, or however you pronounce his last name. Straight up, just looks like him.
Yeah.
And you are in a world where everyone is basically dead in the city of Cross, I think it's called. And puppets have gone crazy and they've like killed everyone. And there's like a petrification disease, which is causing people to become petrified. And then there's something else on top of that. I don't want to get into spoilers. But basically, if you're a human in this city, things have gone poorly for you.
It's not good.
Yeah. And you go around and you fight giant bosses, be them human or puppets. And it's a lot of fun. It's very hard. I would argue in some cases it can even be harder than the Souls franchise. But it's a blast when you finally are able to take out the bosses.
That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah. Oh, and my favorite part is... So I think it's a Korean company that made the game in France and then dubbed it into English. And there is so you're a puppet, right? And there's an upgrade system where you need to upgrade your P organ.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you couldn't have picked a different term for that? Like, just spell it out like puppet organ instead of P organ.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been some fun.
Does your P organ get bigger? Is that part of the upgrade?
It gets more powerful. Thank you very much.
I mean, considering that it's a Pinocchio game and you're upgrading your P organ, like, I mean, I would assume it just gets longer, right?
Well, that's his nose.
Yeah. Well, is his nose his P organ?
I think it's so the P organ is like you know what, we're getting into the nitty gritty. Don't worry about it. It's a thing. Okay.
It's such bad translation. I love those games where the translation is like, you're just like, oh, this was not meant for English. Like,
yeah,
whatever this meaning was originally is lost in our culture, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But
it's a blast.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I don't know if it meets the same level as like the Souls franchise, but it's really good. And I'm glad we finally had a company succeed where so many have failed before trying to make a clone.
That's exciting. I understand that desire when you love a franchise style so much and you're like, all these other guys keep trying to do it and they just don't get it or they can't replicate it. And then somebody does it and you're like, oh, this is great. Now I have another way to play my favorite franchise, because, you know, if you're waiting for FromSoft to make the next game, it's like, okay, well, have fun. Like, it's going to be 3 years or whatever. So if you got...
Yeah, and I have heard some people that they would come into the chat and be like, this is just a Bloodborne clone. I'm like, Yeah.
Mhm.
And like, does it matter? Like, it's just more of that kind of content, unless you're so caught up on the novelty of it. If this isn't the first time someone did it, then it's completely invalidated. I don't subscribe to that whole notion where novelty is all that matters in gaming. I think iteration is fine, and so
most of gaming is iteration. 99% of the titles that come out are like, here's this game, but with a small twist.
Yeah. Here's
never
Dark
a twist.
Souls, but in Star Wars, that's Jedi Fallen Order to, there's more than that. But yeah, it's like this, it's just a different setting. Here's Battlefield, but in a different setting.
Well, it's like, I like action RPGs. And like, if an action RPG iterates too far and becomes not an action RPG, I tend to not like it as much, right? So I'm like, oh, you changed too much. Go back to being an action RPG, please.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that element too. You don't want it to go outside of the genre. If
it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? The wheel works.
I think
let it roll.
I think, man, the devil is in the details with those types of games, because we've seen so many devs try and like clone the Battlefield franchise over the years and just kind of miss that secret sauce, whether it's the pacing, the gunplay, the graphics, the accessibility, whatever. There's something there that just doesn't quite up and hit that like secret sauce that somehow DICE stumbled upon many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you try and play these other games, these clones, and you're just like, it's just not quite there.
Doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, and I'm sure as not being a big Dark Souls fan or those type of games, I'm sure the nuance is like pretty much everything in them.
Yeah.
Like the timing and whatever, right?
Yeah. It has to be fluid to play. Like, it has to feel. Yeah, I agree. There is something about it, and it's hard to hit, but when you hit it, it works.
Yeah. So are you any shows or books updates?
I've been watching Wheel of Time season 2, which has been more enjoyable than season 1.
Okay. I didn't like season 1 very much, so that's good to hear.
I also didn't really like season 1, but season 2, for me personally, I don't know if I'm just in a different mindset, but I've enjoyed the pacing. I've enjoyed the characters. The writing seems to be better. Yeah.
It seems like they had a great foundation to work with, and they mostly screwed it up on the show side. The material seemed solid, and the show was just like, the execution was really weird and campy at times. And you're like, I don't like any of the characters, or like the things they say and do feel weird, and everything's delivered.
If you're at least a little interested, you could try out the first episode, and the vibe definitely. They're retconning stuff that they did in season 1, because I think they realized that what they were doing was just insane, and so there's even things. I think they recognized that things were not going very well in season 1, so they've had to course correct in season 2.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I got annoyed while watching it, because I had just been watching like maybe The Witcher or some other big fantasy show that somebody was pushing out, because Netflix dropped a bunch, and they had that other the bone something, Skull and Bone.
Oh yeah, Skull and Bones. Yeah.
Is that it? Okay. Yeah. And then I came over to the Wheel of Time, and I was like, man, none of the main characters are like that attractive. It's bugging me.
You just.
Because you're watching The Witcher and you're like, my God, look at these Adonises. And then like...
You're the problem, LevelCap. No, not everyone needs to be hot.
I realized that, but then I realized that the moment I thought it, and I was like, well, I can't change my feelings now. Like, I'm enjoying the show less because they like decided to cast normal looking people. And I'm like, I don't want to look at normies. I want to look at beautiful people.
I want everyone to be hot.
Yeah, have you ever walked down the fantasy aisle in a bookstore? Like, do what they do on the covers of those books. Like, loosely clad, super hot people. And then this show's like, what if we cast people who didn't just look amazing?
You mean like normal people?
Yeah, and I was like, ugh, who cares about these people? Ugh, these are our heroes? Gross.
I don't even think they're like unattractive though.
They're not.
They're like handsome young men and women. Like
that's it though. You're saying handsome, right? They're semi-attractive. They're fine. It's not enough for me, Matt. Okay.
Apparently.
Not enough.
LevelCap has high
I will
standards.
check out season 2 eventually.
Give it a try.
My list of things to watch is quite long now, and I'm like, I'm behind on Ahsoka, man, and people have been telling me stuff. I'm like, all right, shut up. I need to catch up on Ahsoka.
I hear it's good.
Yeah, I know. It's that's what I've been hearing too, and now I'm like, don't get excited. You don't want to be hurt again. Like, it's like Star Wars is an abusive relationship. Yeah, it's full on abusive relationship for me at this point. Sunken cost fan over here. I watched the new Ninja Turtles movie.
I heard good things.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I watched it with my son because I'm like always trying to like find slightly more mature films for him to watch, and so it's always like, could he watch this? I hadn't seen it before. It was rated PG. Maybe on the edge.
Oh, was it on the edge? Okay.
On the edge. I don't know. Like, I mean, they are cutting people up with samurai swords, but they don't really show it. So you're just like, I guess they fell over.
It's PG and they're just cutting people up and twine?
Yeah, but they don't show the blood, I guess, or something.
Oh, so that's fine. Yeah, just chop them in half. PG, baby.
I mean, there's a lot of like, oh, we knocked all the people out. But then at a certain point, you're like, they're not knocking people out with the blades, man. That's
those people are dying.
Yeah, you take a katana to the throat, you're not getting up. Like, he's not asleep on the ground. But it was good. I like the, they kind of took a page out of this new Spider-Man movie animation style. So it's 3D, but also with some 2D animation overlay techniques, and it looks really good. I'm a huge fan of what the Spider-Verse movies have been doing, and Ninja Turtles kind of followed in this similar footstep. It's not as good as the Spider-Verse film, so if you're gonna watch one, then go with the Spider-Verse.
Watch Spider-Verse first.
Yeah, because Spider-Man is it's more adult, so the story behind it is a little more interesting, where Ninja Turtles is like, there's toxic sludge, and it turned turtles into ninjas, and you're like,
I heard it's actually voice acted by children too, isn't it?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I think I saw a clip where Seth Rogen, I think, was the director of it, and I think he was executive producer. Okay, and he just had them just talk. They're like, okay, we're just go for it. And some of the scenes were them just ad-libbing and God, what's the word when they come up with stuff on the spot?
Yeah.
Improv. They were improving. And so there's a scene where they just started like talking about pizza or something, and they just go back and forth, and that was all improv by the kids. And that's why it sounds weird, maybe not weird, but that's what kids apparently
sounds
just
more
sound
authentic. Like. It definitely sounds more authentic, and it was funny in that way where I'm watching and like my 6-year-old starts laughing at what they're saying because they're making kid jokes, and I'm like, oh, that's great that he's enjoying it. And I think they did a good job with making it watchable for adults too. I think that's always like a fun thing where when Pixar gets it right, or one of these studios gets it right.
It's hard to do.
It's really hard to do, to make something very watchable for an adult and a kid, but I think Ninja Turtles rides that line really well. And
nice. Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah, it didn't feel like obviously rebooting Ninja Turtles is, it's a big studio cash grab essentially, but the fact that they did a good job with it, and I'm like, yeah, I'd be down to see more of these, Yeah. So that was good.
Nice.
And then I'm just catching up on Ted Lasso, and
you haven't finished it?
I'm working through season 3. Also, have you watched any of Wrexham, the Hulu show? No,
I don't have Hulu.
Oh, okay. It's Wrexham is like I don't even know how to describe it. It's a reality show, or it's a documentation of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who's one of the actors on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I heard of that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. They bought a British football club, and basically,
because as you do,
as one does, when you live in Los Angeles, you go,
and you're uber rich now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds is worth billions. Like,
he's unbelievably wealthy now.
Yeah,
that whole Mint Mobile stuff, they then sold it off for like $1 billion.
Yeah,
and I think he owned like 30%. It's like, Jesus, Ryan.
Yeah, he's got all this other stuff. He's got a gin company or whatever, like
he's marketed himself incredibly well.
Yeah, he's doing fine. So they're playing around and they decided to buy a football club because wouldn't that be fun? And it's incredibly good.
Really?
So good. Like, I'm not even a big soccer fan football if you're European. Or
I like how you did that the most condescending is football.
I like to get them riled up because obviously we coined soccer for some stupid reason.
God damn it.
But I say European, even though they play football
everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's just us in the United States. Yeah.
Does South America have soccer? I don't think so.
No, I'm pretty sure it's football. Yeah. Old football.
Anyway, Wrexham is fantastic. It's really.
I should get Hulu.
Well,
there's a lot of shows on
Disney Plus Hulu thing or whatever.
Yeah, that's probably what I need to do.
The thing that we do. Disney surprisingly got a decent amount on it, but helps if you have kids. Also, you get a lot more mileage out of it.
Yeah, I could imagine.
There's only so many times you can watch the Avengers before you're like, all right,
that's enough.
That's enough of that.
Yeah, I kind of fell off the whole superhero train for a while now, ever since Endgame.
Well, you and every other superhero fan, right? They've been trying to reboot the magic, and
they can't.
Yeah, I don't know. The latest Batman
how do you
movie
go
looked
back?
okay.
How do you go bigger than the half the universe snapping out of existence? Oh, multiverse. All of the universes. That's where we're going with it. It's like, okay, maybe we could bring it down.
The Spider-Man movies are the best thing that's come out since the Avenger storyline wrapped up. Those have been solid. And I like some of the Doctor Strange stuff that they did, but the Spider-Man movies they're good. You should definitely watch them.
I should. I really should.
They're worth watching. They're heartfelt. They're super interesting, good writing, all that stuff. But
cool.
What's your plans for this week? Or since we're recording on Monday.
God, what do I future?
Yeah,
plans?
I know. We're in a very reactive environment where we're just like, this game's coming out, play this game.
So I do actually. I'm gonna be playing on my Twitch channel. A little self-plug there. I'm gonna be playing the Payday 3 because it's coming out. So I'll be focusing on that. Then on the 20th, I think Witchfire, the new FPS. I don't even know how to describe it. Witchfire is releasing. It's sort of like I don't know how to describe it. It's an FPS medieval magic game. Just roll with it. On the 21st is Cyberpunk 2.0 update 26.
Oh, yeah.
Is the DLC.
Yeah. Oh, 26 is the DLC, but there's an update on the 21st.
21st is the update.
And that's going to like reboot all the character progression stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have to basically start the game over to play the DLC stuff?
So I believe you can take an existing character and just play the DLC. I think there's also going to be a skip where if you just want to play, it'll like level you up and then, so you don't have to. But I think a lot of people are going to do that because
just to do the new character progression the whole way through and test it out. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. That's
cool.
my plan currently.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about seeing the Phantom Liberty trailer with Idris Elba was like insane.
It was really good.
I haven't seen a game that looks that good. It looks insane. You're just
it was CGI.
Yeah, but I mean, like, do they have a mode where they just up the graphics for the cutscenes, right? Because the games don't play a pre-rendered cutscene usually. It's like we're going to bump the visuals and then just lock the camera in so that you don't notice that it's playing at 30 FPS as much or something like that,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. The game does look fantastic now, though. There was someone who uploaded a clip where they modded VR and they were like looking around and it had ray tracing. I was like, dude, this is insane. Like if with ray tracing on and they look up and it just looks like they look like they're in a city of literally a cyberpunk futuristic city. And the wheels started turning on how it would be incredible just to immerse yourself in a VR like that, and then have other people interacting if it could be multiplayer. So
I know there's some things that are getting like insanely close to like what you've always imagined games being, and you're just like, whoa, I didn't expect us to get here that quickly, and
here we are.
Yeah, that's cool. What do you use to figure out what you're playing during the week? Do you have like a calendar or something, or you just...
I've got Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, he's busy. He's busy right now making my dinner. Steve's my...
Well, I always wonder because I feel like everybody has their own process and like nobody does the same thing in terms of like researching.
Always on the internet. So I'm constantly learning of new games, what's coming out. And I don't have a plan. I don't have like some crazy machinations of, I don't have a flow chart of all the games that are releasing. I just like, what's fun or what's came out this week? Well, I'll try that out.
Yeah. Well, I'm just impressed because I asked you what you're playing this week and you actually had like a more or less play-by-play of it. I'm like, okay. Like wasn't sure how much of you're just like you wake up in the morning and you're like, I guess I'll play this today, or if it's like laid out in advance.
It's not laid out in advance. And especially the reason why I had an answer for you is there's so many games releasing that I kind of needed to have a plan.
Yeah. Dude, this ended 2023, and this is very inside baseball here, but from the content creator perspective, it really has been like a struggle on scheduling, because I'm like, well, I play this game this day and that'll give me enough time to make the content I need to make on that game. And then I got to play this game that day and then this game on that day. And I don't remember a lot of prior years where I had to do that level of scheduling. Like every now and then 2 titles would come out near each other and you'd have to do a bunch of stuff, but it's been like months of juggling stuff at this point.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I prefer this over like, I guess I'll play some Battlefield tonight, and okay, today I'll play some, I have no idea. Now that I've moved to variety, and I love variety, if I don't have variety, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with myself. I guess we'll just go back and play something that we played before.
Yeah. There's always Battlefield.
There's always Battlefield.
That new map coming out whenever. I don't even know when it's coming out.
The hype for Battlefield 2042 has really died a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's too much cool stuff coming out, and they're like, we're still here. I've seen like, in the last week, I've seen like 4 articles pop up on like random news sites that all have some title that's about how 2042 like has reinvented itself. And I'm like, this is all kind of oddly coincidental. And I'm like, did EA put out like a marketing campaign or like...
Well, I think it's because they maybe caught on now that the game is actually in a decent spot.
Yeah.
And they're just realizing it. And there was a slight bump in player base. It's starting to go down.
Yeah.
I think it's because players are starting to realize like, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of updates coming out. This is the end of it. So
yeah.
And player perception does matter.
Yeah, we'll have to link up for whenever the new map drops and get some rounds in.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down.
Cool. Well, you want to wrap things up there?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget, we do have a Patreon if you would like to help support our podcast and buy Matimi0 some more full-size anime body pillows for his growing collection. They're not cheap.
They're not, especially the nice editions.
Exactly. And if you want to watch Matimi0 stream live, you can find him in the video description. If you want to watch my YouTube content, you can also find that in the video description. Thank you guys for your support. Again, we upload the podcast on Wednesdays. And if you're a Patreon member, you can watch us live stream on Mondays and ask us questions and even do a Q&A after the show, which is especially exciting when we have guests because they're new and interesting people. Yep. Any closing words, Matt?
I love you.
Right. Love you too. Bye, guys.
Bye.